House of Cards is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
you're listening to House of Cards.
Today, the game is different.
I want to gamble. Gambling is a very serious business. Is that clear?
Welcome to House of Cards. Dave Weishottle with you here, deep from the swamps of Jersey. We got a great show coming up for you. What a month to be a sports bettor. You got the NBA, you got the NHL, and of course you have the NCAA basketball tournament. Given the incredible national sports betting numbers that have just been released, people are throwing huge amounts of cash on sports. And we're going to take a look at the state of sports betting in this country and dive deep into those numbers with our guest coming up. You've read his work on usbets.com, SportsHandle, and some of the other great sites from Better Collective. And of course, you've heard him on this show before. When we come back, we're talking with Chris Altruda, who's going to fill us in on what's going on in the gambling world. So stick around. We'll be right back with House of Cards.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-297-9788. 800-297-9788.
Psst. Yeah, you. Come here. Haven't you heard? We don't need to hide anymore. Now, we can shop privately for adult products at adamandeve.com. They've got massage oils, lingerie, and lots more we can't mention here. Use offer code SPICE404. They'll give you 50% off almost any one item, 3 free DVDs, free mystery gift, and free shipping. That's 50% off, free shipping, and more. Private shopping starts at adamandeve.com.
You're listening to House of Cards.
I'm talking sick piles of money. I'm talking lay on your bed in your Vegas room, throw the money in the air, and dance as it showers down on you money. I'm talking frosted glass limo money. I'm talking big cowboy hat, silver turquoise buckle money. I'm talking gambling.
I am in love with you.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishuttle with you. If you're a sports bettor, you love this time of year. You got the NBA, the NHL, and of course NCAA basketball. And from those handle numbers from across the country, sports bettors are throwing down some big-time cash. And to help us break down what's going on in the gambling world, we always call on our returning guest from SportsHandle, USBets.com, and Better Collective, Chris Altruda, who is on the line with us right now. Chris, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me. Pleasure as always.
I got to tell you, Chris, I want to start off with the big story, the NCAA tournament. I mean, your home base is in Illinois. I'm in New Jersey, and we're sort of in the same situation. We can bet on the teams playing in the tournament as long as the college or university isn't located within our state. And I'm still shocked we have this rule in place. I know a lot of people listening around the country are wondering why we still have a rule like this. What explanation has been given to you as the reason for this rule?
There are a few. I mean, it varies from state to state. The biggest one, I think, was at first one of those givebacks to not raising a stink about legalizing sports betting. I think that's some of it. And the NCAA has pivoted away from being outright against sports betting. They kind of saw the handwriting on the wall as it was being legalized on a state-by-state basis, and they kind of changed their battle tactics to reflect, well, if we can't keep it illegal, we can possibly lobby at the state level to at least ban it involving schools that are in each state. And I think that was what they were able to do with regards to New Jersey and Illinois, although both states now have legislation of some sort in the pipeline to end this carve-out. I know Illinois does. Representative Mike Selesky refiled a bill early in this General Assembly session here, and he was hoping that by college football season that exemption would be removed and everyone would be able to be bet on college football and then just have it kick over to the next college basketball season.
I have to tell you, what added insult to injury here in New Jersey was that we had the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, and not only was it being held in New Jersey, it was being held in Atlantic City, surrounded by 9 casinos, all who have sports books. And as a rule in New Jersey, we can't bet on any collegiate game inside the state. So you had all this great stuff going in Atlantic City right next to the sports books, and no one can bet on it. And I'm just wondering, how much money New Jersey lost out on. Do you think situations like that will be the tipping point for a lot of these states that say, well, maybe we should finesse this rule a little bit?
I don't think it's in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's as large amount as we want to believe it is.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that comes up when asking operators about this is the fact that during the college basketball season, there's enough of an inventory of games where they're not going to say these 1 or 2 games on like a Wednesday or a Saturday are going to matter. Obviously, with a conference tournament, it's a little more densely packed, so there may be a noticeable mark on the schedule because you have a finite amount of games, and all of a sudden you have a percentage of that finite amount not available to you. So it may be more noticeable for a few days per year, but it also doesn't seem to register that much over the course of the season. It's, oh yeah, that's right, we can't bet on them because that's what the state law says.
You know, you mentioned state officials, and I know you talk to a lot of state officials around the country. I mean, I spoke to a couple, I like in Iowa and Mississippi, and they allow betting on their college teams, but they have a rule that you can't bet on the individual players. I mean, for example, you can place a bet on Mississippi State in Mississippi. However, you can't place a bet on the Mississippi State quarterback to throw over 200 yards. Do you think that's kind of something in the future that New Jersey and Illinois could look at doing, or do you think something like that could be done throughout the country?
I think that's the last bastion that is probably going to be a no-go unless it is adopted completely in this country. I think the NCAA would raise a very large issue betting on individual athletes. I think that, again, they realized that they couldn't stop sports wagering in general. This is the ring fence they're trying to make involving banning at the state level involving state schools, I think is their last stand in terms of what they'll lose. But I think if you were going to push them about individual athletes, I think they would push back a lot harder than people think. And to be fair to them, I think that's a valid pushback. I'm not very comfortable wagering money on 17 to 22-year-olds.
Yeah, I know.
In a college setting, it's the most pivotal point of their lives, and adding another layer of pressure on top of them from a general public who wouldn't know these kids if they fell over them, and then asking them, oh, by the way, yes, I put $25 on you plus 200 to throw for 280 yards and a couple of touchdowns.
No pressure there.
No pressure at all. I mean, on top of the 80,000 fans who were screaming your name at the stadium that day. So I think the prop bets for players in college is a bridge too far.
Stick around. We'll be right back with House of Cards.
Attention seniors with Medicare. This is an important announcement. Did you know you may qualify for a monthly Social Security rebate? Did you know you may qualify for a $0 monthly premium? That's right. You may qualify to get $135 added back to your Social Security check each month. Just call the Medicare benefits line to get your options. It's a free call. You may also qualify for $0 premiums, dental coverage, vision coverage, hearing coverage, and prescription drug coverage. With this type of plan, you don't need Medicare supplement insurance. Call now because you deserve to get the most from your Medicare benefits, including a rebate to your Social Security check each month. Agents are standing by with free information regarding Medicare benefits. It's a free call with no obligation, but it could mean big savings for you. Call the Medicare benefits line now to see if you're eligible for a Social Security rebate.
Call 800-574-6770. 800-574-6770.
You're listening to House of Cards.
I'll bet you $20 I can get you gambling before the end of the day. No way. I'll give you 3-1 odds. No. 5-1. No. 10-1. You're on.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishuttle with you. House of Cards is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Chris Altruda from SportsHandle.com, USBets.com, and Better Collective. Now, I mentioned you're in Illinois, and I am fascinated by the Illinois sports betting market. It's doing amazing things. I mean, how have the Illinois sports betting numbers been over the last couple of months?
They have set handle records every month. The latest one that came in for January, and let me explain this as a precursor, because everyone will what happened in February. There are rules in place in the sports wagering rulebook in which the operators do not have to provide their numbers to the gaming board until the end of the following month. So on January 31st, January ends, but they do not have to submit those January numbers to the board until February 28th. And then the board reviews them. So you have this normal 45-day lag from the end of the month from when that month is reported. So we got the January numbers during the March 10th meeting, and they set a monthly handle record at 580 million, which was a little surprisingly high considering that the retail part of it, because they were at limited capacity, was only about, I want to say 7 to 8 million. So almost about 96, 97% of the handle came online. And that was after they did 490 million in December exclusively online. And the other thing about Illinois was that this has been going on with just 5 mobile operators. Barstool entered last week as the 6th, but they were also the first ones to enter in the mobile space since September. So Illinois, I believe, is performing above expectations based on the first year and also dealing with a pandemic.
You know, I wanted to ask about Barstool. When did they go live, and what has been the reaction so far with their presence in the state?
It's hard to tell. I think one of the smart things they did was the Hollywood casinos rebranded all of their retail books to Barstool. So while you have just the Barstool Sports app, you also have Barstool Sports books in Aurora, Joliet, and Alton, which is in the St. Louis metropolitan area. While there's no direct Chicago presence, I know Dave Portnoy was out here for about a week, indirectly hyping it while operating out of some base camp hotel in Chicago, while not exactly being at the Aurora or Joliet locations. So in some respects, it was a soft launch for the mobile book along with the retail book. I don't know how they're going to be received. Obviously, you'll have a long lag time that it might filter out of mind a little bit. I think there's a place for them to be 4th in the initial report because the big 3 here are DraftKings, FanDuel, and BetRivers. Mm-hmm. And then it's PointsBet and William Hill. And William Hill has yet to embrace in-play wagering here. So Barstool, in theory, should get a bump past William Hill based on the popularity and use of in-play wagering. Whether it can overtake PointsBet early is going to be a challenge. PointsBet has done a very good job in this state. They did approximately 40 million in handle in January, which is, it sounds mean to say it's like the scraps, but at the same time, there's a lot of scraps here because there's only 5 mobile operators right now, and Barstool made 6. So I'm curious to see if Barstool will fight hard with PointsBet for 4th. I think there's right now too big of a gap to BetRivers because BetRivers, despite being 3rd, is still doing more than 100 million in handle a month. And I think that's going to be a challenge to reach for Barstool in the opening month. But there's definitely room for them in this state. And as the year goes forward and a few more enter, BetMGM at some point is going to enter this year. And depending on how fast the state moves on Jumer's Casino in Rock Island, because that's now going to be a Bally's casino, and Bally's did their entire rebrand, you have to imagine at some point Bally's will enter this market in a mobile presence as well, but we don't know when exactly that's going to be yet.
You know, that was my next question about the expectation for Barstool. I know in the 2 states they were previously in, they're doing very well, and that's Pennsylvania and Michigan. I know in Pennsylvania they're coming in like 3rd place behind FanDuel and DraftKings. I think even 1 month they had a 20% hold, and I'm not quite sure how that happened. I guess everyone's betting parlays in that state. But so it sounds like they're right in the mix in Illinois.
Right, and I think the raw number of handle seems to be consistent in placing them 3rd. They jumped a little bit in Michigan. Those numbers came out for February yesterday, and I believe it was 40 million, which put them a distant 4th. But at the same time, that's still good. And with Michigan, it was the fact that they were all at the same starting line. They launched 10 operators simultaneously. So in some respects, it looked like a battle royale, but at the same time, it was the most fair method of doing it. Barstool entering here had a bigger challenge because all 5 books were very well established, and they offer different things. For whatever reason, William Hill, and despite its lack of offering in play, still gets a decent amount of per wager. Barstool's not going to get what William Hill gets, but Barstool's going to have that in play, and they're going to compete. One issue against Barstool, however, is that because it's part of Penn National Gaming, it's part of that Candy platform. So you have now 3 of the, it's DraftKings, BetRivers, Barstool, and then you have 3 of the 6 who operate under the same Candy platform. So that's a challenge for them as well, because people who are going to line shop are going to look for differentiation when they're wagering.
You know, one of the amazing things of the overall sports betting industry is the incredible national numbers that are coming out. Give us a sense nationally how the sports betting industry is doing.
It's doing well. I mean, it's kind of funny. We joked about it when the country was moving back to full strength in August and things were reopening. And in August, it was $2 billion in monthly handle. And we all got excited. Everyone's like, well, you know, there's room for growth and this and that and the other. And it kept going. And it got to a point where we were looking at January numbers and knowing Illinois was going to be the last, but we still also noticed that Illinois was just going to be the sugar on top of whatever the cake was in terms of the number. Delaware was the second to last state to report numbers for January. And when they had their $15 million, that set a monthly record even before Illinois was reported. So the handle has gone from $2.2 billion in August to $2.86 billion in September to $3.26 billion in October to $3.46 billion in November to $3.77 billion in December, and then to $4.36 billion in January. So
unbelievable.
I mean, and part of that can be attributed to more states legalizing. And also another key part of it is there are large states legalizing. Mm-hmm. You know, Michigan came online in January. Virginia launched. Tennessee launched. These are all states with significant populations. And also in the case of Tennessee and Virginia, they're opting to go digital. And if you have remote registration, you're instantly throwing access to people who want to wager. And those people will find a way to wager. And now that you're doing it legally, you've set the market even higher. And you can now chase these bigger numbers.
Stick around. We'll be right back with House of Cards.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-297-9788. 800-297-9788.
Hey, this is Dave Weishuttle from House of Cards with your House of Cards gaming report for the week of March 22nd, 2021. FanDuel and Boyd Gaming have announced the launch of the Stardust Casino. The iconic brand will be launched as an online-only casino in both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. FanDuel's Betfair Casino in New Jersey will be rebranded as the Stardust Casino with a launch date sometime in April. The Stardust Casino will have online slots and table games as well as live dealer games. According to the Las Vegas Sun, the pandemic continues to have a devastating impact on the Vegas poker industry. The Nevada Gaming Control Board recently reported revenue from 282 poker tables in Clark County, down from the 418 tables prior to the pandemic. Vegas poker rooms had been on the decline even before the pandemic hit, with the city having over 1,000 tables in 2010. And finally, a little bit of the East Coast is coming to the Las Vegas Strip. Dunkin' Donuts announced the April opening of 2 locations in Vegas. The shops, Dunkin's first in Nevada, will be at the Link, with one facing the Strip and the other right next to Caesars Forum. 5 more Dunkin' Donuts are planned for Southern Nevada. Nothing like a good cup of coffee after a long night in Vegas. Have any news or tips regarding casinos, gaming, or legislation? Send us an email at newsroom@houseofcardsradio.com and follow us on Twitter at HOC Radio.
You're listening to the House of Cards.
Well, don't take it too hard. I've done a lot of stupid things in my life, too. Stupid? What do you mean, stupid?
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishaupt with you. House of Cards is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Chris Altruda from SportsHandle.com, USBets.com, and Better Collective. You know, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, what were some of the reasons for these massive numbers? Certainly a lot of states are coming on board with sports betting, but is it the media influencing a lot of people? I mean, that you're seeing sports betting, a lot of the sports broadcasts. I just interviewed the VP of gaming for the PGA Tour, and I never thought I'd interview a vice president in charge of gaming at a professional sports league. I mean, is that some of the reason why this is exploding? Certainly the sports teams are getting involved, and I know media is really embracing it.
There's multiple combinations of reasons. One is that media is no longer, it's no longer taboo to talk about point spreads on air. That's one of the basic ones. One of the other ones is that DraftKings and FanDuel essentially have money cannons in their advertising departments when it comes to airtime. Living in the Chicago market, I can tell you that if I go an hour without seeing a DraftKings ad, it will be the first time in about 4 months I will have gone an hour without seeing a DraftKings ad with my television on. And that goes beyond them. Even when you go to Barstool does not have a television airwave presence, but Dave Portnoy, to his credit, is a social media genius. When he tells people to jump, the stoolies say how high, and they will go where directed. So that's also some of it too. I think the NFL is a very large driver of handle, and also, you joked about it earlier with everyone in Pennsylvania betting on parlays. That's not restricted to Pennsylvania. That is a national phenomenon. And one of the things we joked about was, we've always wanted to see what it was like. So in January, just for fun, there are 8 states that report parlay handle. Mm-hmm. And those 8 states combine to post almost $500 million in parlay handle, just parlay handle, which is, about 1/8 of the overall handle. 7 of those states post revenue. Delaware is kind of a hybrid because they sell only parlay at their retail lottery. So we don't know what their parlay numbers at the 3 tracks are. But when you factor in these 6.5 states, the operators made $77 million in revenue. And the win rate, the money that, what the house keeps off the wagers, was almost 19%. So essentially 1 out of every $5 wagered on a parlay went back to the house. They're going to continue promoting that.
I was going to ask about that because you wrote a great article about the record handle, and one of the parts in the article was about parlays. And I know gamblers have a saying that parlays don't build bankrolls, they build sports books. I mean, I'm sure you're getting emails about like parlay insurance. I'm getting parlay boosts here in New Jersey, and it's constant emails. And it's just, how critical is that for a sports book? You just never think of it, parlays being that important to a sports book bottom line. But how important are they to sports books?
It varies from sportsbook to sportsbook. I think one of the things is that FanDuel, by using a same game parlay, I think FanDuel has created itself a more consistent revenue stream in that area, because people are going to be more than willing to put down $1 or put down $5. Like, they're always small bets, but it's half the fun of a parlay is creating something that's so obtuse and unrealistic that if it happens, it's a bonus. I jokingly called it a couple of months ago when I wrote about one of the other handle stories. I said it's like that Daffy Duck and Porky Pig cartoon where Porky Pig signs the insurance thing, and then Daffy Duck reads the rider and it says a stampede of wild elephants and one baby zebra. Everyone who runs the $1 parlay is chasing the baby zebra to make like an 11-leg parlay hit.
They are the best social media posts because they certainly attract a lot. Hey, this was my parlay for $1. I won $4,000. It just, and that kind of perpetuates it. It looks like
it does to a degree. And the other half of the equation is, obviously experienced bettors will realize that. Well, yeah, you won $4,000, and how many times did you do it before you won the $4,000? What was your net after with this win, kind of thing. But I mean, it attracts the casual bettor because it's in some ways that parlay is akin to a lottery game, a lottery ticket, and it's accessible that way mentally to the casual bettor, where all right, yeah, it's $1. I'm not gonna lose sleep over a $1 bet, And the other thing is, as opposed to like a lottery ticket where you maybe do quick pick and have the machine spit the numbers out, this is something you're doing, and you have a little bit of ownership, even if it is that $1 or $5.
It seems like every month a state is breaking its own handle record. Has there been one state out there that has really surprised you with regard to how well it's doing with regard to sports betting?
I think Indiana continues to be the one that punches above its weight on a level that is unlike most. I think everyone realized that Illinois was going to be a top 5 market, and they have flexed their muscle to reflect that. I think Indiana being in that second tier right below, like ranking 5th at this point. I mean, I think it's going to change when I think Tennessee comes to fruition and Michigan begins to really pick itself up. But Indiana clearing $300 million in handle over the last 2 months. And they backslid a little bit because it was February and everyone is backsliding in February. But they only backslid to $274 million, I believe. But it's a state that had its act together from the moment Governor Holcomb legalized it. The Indiana Gaming Commission, and this is the other thing, these state gaming commissions do not operate in a vacuum when it comes to sports betting. There are multiple other things going on. For example, here in Illinois, they're in the process of, weeding out, suitors for new casinos in 6 different locations. Indiana has, I believe, 11 casinos, and they just redid the whole El Dorado merger with Caesars, in which Caesars had to give up 3 properties to prevent a monopoly-like hold. But the Indiana Gaming Commission, I mean, to its credit, they are on point. They all work together. There's no sense of hierarchy with them. Every time there's something important in a meeting that goes on, everyone comes informed with an opinion, and everyone discusses. And the other thing is the people in charge of the actual sports betting portion of it are receptive. They quickly update things. They quickly update the operators on what's going on when they approve sports and they approve registrants. And it's just really, I mean, they are a good mid-state model for other states that are plotting a path to follow. I think Michigan will serve as a template for states that have tribal gaming based on what Representative Iden did to get all the tribal casinos on board with mobile gaming. But Indiana, in terms of just a setup of getting started and getting going, is also right up there among the best in the country.
Now, when we talk about one state that's been in the news recently with regard to sports betting, and that's Texas. Now, I'm confused about what Texas does for a whole lot of issues, but I certainly don't know what the future holds for them with regard to sports betting. I know there's a bunch of bills that's been submitted right now, but what's the situation in Texas when it comes to sports betting?
It's a challenge. I mean, it's a logistical challenge from a government point of view to get it on the ballot, because it has to be a joint resolution for a constitutional amendment. So you need 2/3 approval in both the Texas House and the Texas Senate. On a pure party line of Republican Democrat, there is the minimum 2/3 majority in the House with 100 Republicans and 50 Democrats. In the Senate, I believe they had to flip 3 votes to acquire the 2/3 majority. But one of the other things about Texas that was interesting was that there were technically 3 bills filed. One is reclassifying sports betting, so it's not really noticeable in the grand scheme of things. But the 2 bills that were filed that offered more details could not have been more different in their approach. And one was a digital-only bill that was somewhat limited in scope. It limited it to 5 operators. The tax rate was 6.75%, which would have tied Vegas for it actually would have been lower than Vegas. It would have been the lowest in the country. And it was just in terms of scope, it was limited. And then about a month later, somebody came in with what I would affectionately call the Texas brand size bill, in which let's make pro teams the license holders, which everyone was just like, what? No.
I saw that, the professional teams one. I mean, does that even have a chance of passing or even being looked at seriously?
I think it does, because Virginia has it in place, and the Washington football team has one of those licenses. Mm-hmm. And also DC United will eventually gain a license there as well. I think because of the volume of pro sports teams in Texas across a myriad of leagues will also help in that regard. You have WNBA teams, you have NWSL teams, you have MLS teams, and of course you have the NFL major league. You have the 4 major leagues. So I think there's plenty of negotiating room that, you're making it available for everyone. Whether or not the timeline is the bigger issue, because I forget exactly how Texas legislature works, but I believe they meet every other year. So it has to come out in rapid fire fashion to be available to be put on the ballot this year.
I know there was a poll taken by the Dallas Morning News and the University of Texas, and it says that most people in Texas would like casino gambling and sports betting. I mean, was that the major hurdle, or are there some lobbyists or some other special interests that would probably stop something like a casino measure or a sports betting measure in the state of Texas?
I think Texas has to settle for one or the other. I'm not privy to all of that, but I believe that you're not going to go from 0 to 11 like Spinal Tap with sports betting in Texas. I think you're getting sports betting or a casino. You're not getting both. And I also think that I don't think there's an appetite for that much of an appetite for casino gaming. I think sports betting, because it's easier to set up, especially regardless of which method they choose, whether it's Representative Huberty or Representative Dutton, the remote aspect of it makes it an easier sell in terms of availability to the general public. And casino gaming's work. It's a lot of work, and I don't think the timeline allows itself to work. And there's enough money in sports betting where the casino, obviously, yes, casino gaming would bring in a ton of money. But I also think that either bill, based on, the negotiations for those bills, that you're going to arrive at, I think, a different tax rate than what Representative Dutton had, which was the lowest one in the state, whereas Representative Huberty's was 10% and a little more in line, but still competitive, that there will be a flow of revenue. And something Representative Huberty told to me was that this, for him, is somewhat personal in the sense that because they completely overhauled how they fund education in the state. And they were able to expand things in terms of, special education for those with disabilities. And he is looking for ways to maintain that level of funding. So there is definitely, he has skin in this game, pardon the horrible pun.
Stick around. We'll be right back with House of Cards.
heard? We don't need to hide anymore. Now, we can shop privately for adult products at adamandeve.com. They've got massage oils, lingerie, and lots more we can't mention here. Use offer code SPICE404. They'll give you 50% off almost any one item, 3 free DVDs, free mystery gift, and free shipping. That's 50% off, free shipping, and more. Private shopping starts at adamandeve.com.
Now that we're home more than ever, we need to feel safe. Call it a sign of the times or the world we now live in. What do you want to keep safe? The people in your life? What do you want to protect? Your possessions, the things that belong to you, the things that you've worked hard for. Wouldn't it be nice to have tested, trusted 24/7 protection? Peace of mind, real protection that's always there for you and your whole family? Well, now you can with one of our state-of-the-art home security systems. Everyone thinks their home is safe until the unexpected happens. Help protect your home and loved ones today with the affordable next generation in home security. To help keep your family and property safe, call 1-800-520-4068 now. Representatives are standing by to assist you. That's 1-800-250-4068. 1-800-520-4068.
You're listening to House of Cards. Check out our website at houseofcardsradio.com.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishuttle with you. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Chris Altruda from SportsHandle.com, USBets.com, and Better Collective. Well, Chris, we're heading toward the end of March, and the next big betting event for a lot of people is the NFL Draft. And I'm sitting here in a room with executive producer Doug, who's a big Jets fan, staring at me, and I know you're a big Jets fan, and I'm going to pick your brain. Now, who do you think the Jets will pick in the second pick of the draft?
I have held out hope that they will draft the bookend tackle from Oregon, Sewell, I believe his name is.
Okay, well, Doug's shaking his head yes.
Two people who will blot out the sun on the line.
So you're thinking...
But at the same time, it also... I'm of the belief that Sam hasn't gotten a fair shake at quarterback. I mean, they tried with Le'Veon Bell. It was a disaster. Adam Gase was a disaster. Everyone who tried to be a number one receiver just did not live up to that. And they've addressed that to a degree with Corey Davis, and Denzel Mims looks like he has potential. At the same time, you win and lose games at the line. So give me the athlete who can block the sun out.
Well, the other Jets fan in the room is nodding his head yes, so he's in total agreement with you. And while I'm picking your brain about sports, who do you like to win it all in the NCAA tournament?
I mean, it's so hard to pick against Gonzaga.
I know.
I mean, that team can put up. That team has an offensive ceiling like no one else. I mean, they can put up 120 points in a game if they're feeling it. And I joked with one of my friends. I said they're like the reverse version of the UNLV team that won the 1990 tournament. This is a team that speeds you up offensively because you're trying to be efficient to keep up with them. And once you realize you can't do it, is when they just turn on that extra gear and just roll through you. I mean, I don't know how the committee wound up putting the 2, 3, and 4 seeds that they've already plowed through in that region on top of that. The team that can beat them, I think, is Florida State this year.
Interesting.
Florida State it's a big team. It's a long team. It's a team that before last year had second weekend experience. And this year for them, they have consistent perimeter shooting. They're not as apt to fall into scoring droughts as seasons past. They also don't have they don't have one sharp shooter on the perimeter. They have 3 guys who can hit threes, and you have to at least respect them. And I think that actually may wind up helping them more than just having one guy you can key on the perimeter. But they're just also so big. You know, we jokingly, they're the grown-ass man team. is really what they are. They're just, you have a 9-man rotation in college and your shortest guy is 6'4". I mean, no one has that. It's just long.
In my bracket, I have in the semifinals Gonzaga versus Baylor, and I'm waiting to put in the last name in my bracket to finally complete it. So I don't know yet. I
came away with Houston on that side.
Oh, nice.
I think Houston walks. I think Houston walks into the Sweet 16 because regardless of who they play, Clemson or Rutgers in the second round, that's a first to 40 game. Because that's just going to be an ugly game.
I actually have Houston playing Baylor because I think Houston's going to beat Illinois. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, no, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I actually think the one team that could completely mess up that region is Syracuse. That I think that they have a way to get to the regional final as an 11th seed. I think everyone has talked about how good San Diego State is. At the same time, I am not really completely sold on how good the Mountain West was. And Syracuse is a pain to play in a one and done setting. That zone is long. Like Florida State, they have athletes and they play a zone on top of that. You have to shoot over them. Not many teams are good at doing that. And even in the second round, if they play West Virginia's a team that's relying on offense this year, and that's unlike any Bob Huggins coached team.
Yep.
And you run into that same potential problem. That are you going to be able to hit on the perimeter against a 2-3 zone? Maybe, maybe not. So Syracuse can ugly games up, and winning ugly gets you places in the tournament.
I'm glad you said that because I have Syracuse beating San Diego State, but I have them losing against West Virginia. So we'll see what happens. But Chris, we're running out of time. But can you tell everyone where they can read your articles and follow you on social media?
Sure. The articles can be seen at usbets.com and sportshandle.com. We also have a few state-specific sites, including njonlinegambling.com and Penn Bets. There's also MI Bets, and for those in Indiana, there's Hoosier State Bets. And my Twitter handle is Altruda73. It's ALTRUDA and the number 73. So, if you have a question, feel free to ask. I'm usually pretty good about responding fast, and every so often you'll see those tweet storms about handles and states and whatnot and what's going on, and hopefully I keep you entertained and informed.
Chris Altruda from SportsHandle and Better Collective, thanks so much for coming on and keeping us updated in the gambling world. Always great to talk with you, so come back on real soon.
Absolutely. Again, pleasure having me on. Thanks again, Dave.
Well, that'll do it for us this week. I'll see you next time on House of Cards.
Tried to swallow